This is the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. On this episode of the MQP, it's Shaynie Rhoads, the powerhouse guitarist and vocalist. I love that. From Runesaber. The divine power of feminine energy. And we love that here on the Metal Queens podcast. And the dark forces of heavy metal collide in Runesaber. Female fronted by Shaynie. Melodic thrash band from San Diego, California, forged out of founder and frontwoman Shaynie. Her love for heavy metal, fantasy, and the color pink. We're going to talk about that. And Runesaber brings stories of magic and mystical creatures to life through thunderous riffs, and I mean thunderous riffs, and spellbinding vocals. And she calls their sound pink metal. I am happy to have, for the first time, Shaynie Rhoads join me here on the MQP. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so this band has been around for a year now, right? A little over a year.
Exactly. Yep.
So, how did the journey of Runesaber start?
So the short version is that it started as mainly a cover band. I had this band before Runesaber, for like the last year and a half. We played a lot of metal covers and some old originals. And I wanted to start writing original metal music because that's what I grew up loving. So I thought of a band name and then I wrote our first song, and that's how it started.
Describe the sound of Runesaber. What is this pink metal?
It's I'd say it's like 80s inspired melodic thrash metal, power metal, but with female vocals.
You grew
So
up
my
in
spin on it.
it's your spin. Yeah, you grew up in Oceanside, California. Who were some and are some of your influences?
Megadeth, Metallica, Judas Priest, Accept, Iron Maiden, Testament,
Mm.
Randy Rhoads and Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, all the stuff I grew up loving.
Yeah, and growing up, how big and how important was music in your life, in your house, in your family?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it was huge. So I grew up in a pretty musical household. My dad plays guitar. My mom is a dancer, and when I was about 8, I asked my dad to teach me how to play guitar because he had guitars all over the house. So eventually I took an interest, and so he taught me. And then when I was 13, he got me a teacher. And so I started taking lessons at this place called Music Central. And that's where I learned how to read music, read tab, play scales, like all the technical stuff. And after that, I'd say I became like a pretty proficient player by the time like I started high school. And my parents were always like really supportive of that. So
Mm.
I'm really thankful. And um I didn't have a ton of friends, so I just kind of like stayed at home and like played guitar and listened to music all the time. And like I said, my parents were supportive and they love music too. So like when I was younger, I'll backtrack a bit, but each car had like a different musical experience. So like if my dad took me to school, it was gonna be like Bob Marley, Sublime, Jimi Hendrix,
Mm.
Van Halen. And then like my mom's car was always George Michael. Lots of Wham, Madonna, Missing Persons, if you know who they
Yeah,
are.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like I had a pretty good spectrum of music to grab onto.
Yeah, you really did, depending upon which car you were in.
Exactly. Yeah. And what was cool about my mom's car is that she actually had the CD player. My dad, he had this like, he doesn't have it anymore, but it was just this old truck with like a big shifter and only had a cassette player and
Mm.
a bit more. It was the rock and roll car.
That was the rock and roll car, yeah.
Exactly.
Let's talk about your band, Runesaber. You met Ian at San Diego State?
Sort of. Yeah. I was a prospective student there. So I had applied for grad school. I hadn't done my audition yet though, and so I wanted to get my master's in classical guitar, and but I hadn't played in like 10 years. So classical guitar, not like guitar in general. And so I figured I can't just take a 10-year hiatus from classical guitar and literally like waltz in and just expect that I'll pass my audition. So I figured out who taught there, and Ian and his brother both teach there. And so I sent them an email and I said, "Hey, I'm a prospective student. I'm really interested in the classical guitar program. And if either of you are accepting students, um, I would love to get help preparing for my audition." So I figured it was already too late because it was February of last year. And so I wasn't going to get in for the fall. I think it was too soon, but I figured if I like was proactive and prepared like a year in advance, I could get prepared for my audition. So that's how I met him. And it just so happened that we both love heavy metal and grew up liking the same bands.
And Ian was a classical and is a classical musician.
Hmm. Yeah, we have that shared background.
Yeah. And that Corey Noonan is your drummer.
Hmm.
How'd you meet Corey?
So we met through a mutual friend who he also plays drums for, and he was in that band that I mentioned that was mainly covers and old
Yeah.
originals. So we had already been playing together for about a year and a half by the time I met Ian. And then, so that was in February when I met Ian, and then I started this project, Runesaber, like later that summer.
And Jeff Morrison handles production and some bass duties too.
Hmm. Production and all the studio bass.
And you also have another member, Saul, who plays bass on live performances too.
Yeah, so Soul joined early this year, and he's a lot of fun live. He's sick.
So Runesaber has a new single out. It was released independently back in February of this year. It's called Last Bite. Shani, what's
Yeah.
the story behind that song?
Oh gosh. Okay, so it's told from uh the point of view of Greta, who I always refer to as the eight-legged seamstress. She's just a giant, larger than life spider
Hmm.
that eats all her boyfriends. And so that's kind of like a creepy lullaby to all her lovers that are gonna die. That's the literal translation of it. But it's open to interpretation too.
What's the songwriting process like for you? Are you the main songwriter? Is it a collaboration between everybody?
Yeah, so I write all the riffs and the lyrics and the vocal melodies, and then I'll get together with Ian, who writes most of the leads, and he is responsible for adding like all the ear candy stuff, things that I can't naturally think of. So he that's his strong suit. So I'll have some riffs or even like an entire outline of a song, and we'll get together and he'll start adding leads and giving me ideas that I couldn't think of on my own. And then we'll take that to Corey, and then he adds drums.
So this single out now, Last Bite, you can get it, by the way, on Runesaber's website. You can purchase it there. And you
Mhm.
were working, of course, the big question, on the first full-length album. So when can we expect that?
Hopefully end of this year.
Mm.
That's my goal.
And this will be
We're
a full length, not an EP.
right.
Any plans to tour this year in the fall to support it?
You know, I've never toured before. I've only ever played locally. I think once the album is done and I actually have something to promote, um, we'll see how it's received, and then I can, if it's received well, I can start investing in a tour. I've never done anything like that,
Mm,
so it's exciting to think about. I'd probably start, like at least just this state, California or West Coast. Maybe ask some of my friends who book tours for some input, how they do it, what it's like.
mm. So you've played locally. What was it like? What was the feeling like when you played with these guys for the first time live?
Oh my gosh, it was so fun. So the first ever Rune Saber show was actually not even in San Diego. It was in this place called Murrieta, which is like a city over.
Hmm.
And it was at this place called Solaris Brewing or Solaris. I actually don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but it was like kind of our debut show for that project. And that was the first time we played Last Bite. And so that was a lot of fun because I think a lot of people were expecting just mainly covers and my old originals. And what was cool about that show is that we were on a bill with other metal bands, whereas before I was only really playing kind of those like 2 hour, like long, like cover gigs, like at two
Yeah.
o'clock on Saturday at a venue that like no one's going to be at. Um, so that was a rush because for the first time I felt like I was playing music that was authentically me and music that other people could relate to. So it was a lot of fun. And with that said, I still feel like I'm gonna puke every set to this day. So I don't think it'll ever go away, and that's okay. I've learned to cope with it.
But you haven't puked yet.
No,
That's
not,
good. That's a good thing.
not but yeah.
I was watching some of the live videos earlier, and they're on YouTube, by the way, from Runesaber. And you did play Last Bite, I saw live. The first time you played that live, what was the reaction to it?
Dude, I think people really liked it. And my friend Chris in this band Brutalion that also played on that show came up and fist bumped me. So I feel like that was a pretty good reaction. I was very happy. It's evolved a little bit since we first played it,
Hmm.
so it's kind of funny to go back and hear that recording. I think I know which one you're talking about.
Shani, the name of the band, Runesaber, what's the meaning behind it? How'd you come up with it?
So that is from this game, World of Warcraft. It's this mount that your character can ride. It's this big purple cat-like creature with wings,
Mm.
and he's pretty cool. Like he can you can fly and you can go fast on it. And I always really liked the name. It's called the Mystic Rune Saber. And I think it's a play on words because like their saber is a sword, but it's also a saber-toothed cat, or it's similar to a saber-toothed cat. And he's got little mystic runes all over him. So I always thought that was a really cool name. And when it came time to think of a band name, I thought of that. And I thought it was cool to tie that in because of my love for like fantasy and
Yeah.
of that nature. So that actually worked out really well. And Venom was taken. So,
Mm. Is this Runesaber over your shoulder here on the back? In the back of the room? Yeah,
oh yeah, that's Mystic.
there's Mystic. Okay.
Yeah, she's the Oracle. She's so our first album, Mystic's Vision, is named after her. And she watches the merch table with me, and I usually sell mini Mystics, which are like small versions of her, but I'm actually sold out of those. So those are a hit at the shows. I sell more mini Mystics, I think, than t-shirts.
Yeah, I saw some of those on your, online too. You have those, but I guess they're sold out right now.
They're sold out. Yeah, I got to restock.
But you do have t-shirts available on the website, right?
I do t-shirts and patches
And
and
patches
other
too.
characters that are Mystic's friends.
All right, we're gonna wrap up here with 5 questions for Shani. This is the fun part now. Your favorite drink?
My favorite drink, Spindrift,
Mm,
sparkling water.
yeah.
Favorite one.
Um, favorite, you said you were originally a cover band. Favorite cover song of all time?
We still do this one actually. It's in the Runesaber repertoire, Sweating Bullets by Megadeth.
Mm, good one. Yeah. If you weren't in music and you said earlier it was in your family, what would you be doing?
I used to say hairstylist, and my dad's a barber. But now I'd probably be a nutritionist.
What is your dream collaboration?
Probably something with Megadeth or Ghost. Like I don't, what do you mean specifically by collaboration? Like a song or like
Like
a
a
tune?
song. Yeah, doing a song.
Oh, yeah, probably Megadeth or Ghost.
Yeah, good ones.
That would complement us well, I think.
All right, this is gonna be kind of a two-part of this fifth question. Favorite female vocalist and favorite guitarist of all time.
Favorite female vocalist and favorite
Guitarist.
guitarist of all time?
Yeah.
Okay, favorite female vocalist is definitely Era DeWild of Starcrawler.
Mm,
And favorite guitarist of all time, Randy Rhoads.
yeah, good one. She is Shaynie Rhoads, the powerhouse guitarist and vocalist from Runesaber. They are all over social. The website is thebandrunesaber.com. Look them up on Instagram, the band Runesaber. They're on YouTube too. You can check out those live videos of those shows they've done in and around San Diego. A new album is coming. The single is out now. It's called Last Bite. Shani, thanks for joining me here on the Metal Queens podcast.
Thank you so much.
And good luck
Nice
to
to
you
meet
guys.
you.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that album coming out.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Can't wait to
And
show you.
thank you. And this is the Metal Queens podcast. Like it, share it, subscribe to it. And thank you for watching. I'm Steve Richards.